Yeah. Someone needs to come in to see me then.
I get that.
Yeah. But I've seen them before and it's a recheck. And it should be pretty easy. Then I'm like, whatever.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
Can't hear anything though.
Yeah. What'd you say, Jamie?
Unless maybe I need to volume up.
I don't need to hold patience for this one, but hold on, let's see. Go. And, sorry, I'm just looking for. Go ahead and hit this arrow up on the microphone. Select a speaker.
Oh, I need to take, since I don't have my headset, I need to. Oh, I don't
I
have
can
them.
hear you.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, it looked like the two of you were talking and I couldn't hear you.
Oh, you might have. Oh.
So you can hear
now?
Now I can hear you and I could hear Angie,
Yeah.
but I couldn't hear the two of you
Yeah.
talk.
Oh, interesting.
It looks like it's.
Looks
He's muted. But
so. And he must. I can tell you guys, we got kicked at the library today. It was busy.
Was
Everybody's
it?
probably freaking out, like we talked about, thinking it was going to close.
Yes, the world was coming to an end.
Chicken Little.
So Jeff, I see that you're muted. Do you want to be muted?
He can.
Only if you want to hear my crazy kids and my roommate screaming.
Oh, I lost you guys.
The view or the sound?
No, I've still got sound. I just don't have video anymore.
Okay, so if you look at the bottom, if you look
There we
at your
go.
yeah, there's a little Jeff, are you on, can you do video if you want it, or are you just on your phone?
I don't have a camera with my computer.
Okay. But can you see us?
Yep,
Got it.
everything's working.
Perfect.
And I did actually, there is an option here to record. So at this point, we are recording the meeting, even though I said it wasn't going to be. So I don't know if it might be something I can end up getting to City Hall to post. I'm not sure.
Nice.
Okay.
So.
Nobody said they couldn't make it, correct?
Nobody told me that they would not be here. There's Sarah.
Perfect. Well, we'll just have like a couple minutes or so.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey.
I mean, we could roll because we have a quorum. Let's
Right.
do it.
Okay.
All right, let's call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. on April 6th. And let's see, looking at the agenda, I need a motion to approve the agenda if there's no discussion.
So I'm going to point out one thing on the agenda.
Okay.
I noticed, so the first item on the agenda, number one, it says approve changes to circulation policy. adding an option for temporary card with restricted privileges for those without current proof of address. I got to thinking we actually did approve that at the last meeting, and it was just a matter of me making the changes and then getting it signed. But it was the last meeting, it was approved. That was when we were going with the temporary card for 60 days for people who didn't have their proof of address with them.
Okay.
So technically that doesn't need to be approved again, unless the board would want to make any accommodations given our current situation. I'll say that one issue that we are having right now at the library is that we have some upset residents who cannot get a library card right now. We've been refusing those because of the face-to-face nature that is required to actually establish a library card. But we have indicated that, you know, maybe after time we could at least provide a digital card so they could get access to our digital collections. We wouldn't really have to worry about proof of address at that point because they just wouldn't have access to physical. Or we could make some changes to allow them to get a physical card without providing all of the same documentation. I don't know how I feel about that. Apollo, our ILS system, has given us the option where they've established something we can upload our application to the Apollo system, then the patrons can download it, fill it out, re-upload it, and then we could activate them that way too. But it still doesn't provide for proof of address or a photo ID. So, like I said, that I don't know if you want to discuss that more. So if you want to leave that approved changes in there and discuss that more, or
As I'm looking at the minutes, it says, we reviewed circulation policy. Changes will be made to add temporary library card for individuals just moving to Polk City. Will approve at next meeting.
oh, okay. I thought
So
I was
let's leave it on there.
okay.
Let's kind of discuss what you talked about, and then let's
Okay.
hopefully let's go that way.
Okay.
Sounds good. I'll motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so Angie with a motion, Sarah with a second. All those in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. If there's anything that, I'm gonna say now, if there's anything that's like close or controversial, we'll do a roll call just because of the not being the same. Did we
I
do
think the guidelines that I sent to you and Angie
roll
said
call.
that everything had to be roll call.
Okay, so I guess Angie, aye or nay?
Aye.
Sarah, aye or nay?
Aye.
I will go with an aye as well, so it passes unanimously, but Angie, in your notes, note that everybody.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so moving on to consent items. Did everybody look at the March board minutes? Any questions on any of the consent items? Comments from Jamie or questions from anybody? Okay, well, so seeing none, then I would take a motion to approve the consent items.
This is Sarah, and I motion to approve the consent items.
Okay, I'd take a second.
I'll second that.
Angie's gonna second it. Okay, so
Roll call.
Sarah, do you approve it, aye or nay?
Aye.
Angie?
Aye.
And I will approve it as well. So the consent items have been approved unanimously, each one of us with an aye. Any communications from the public? Doesn't look like there's any public joining us. Director's report.
All right. Well, I would say what? It's just pretty much status quo, business as usual at the library. So, yeah. In my director's report, I said, what's new? And it's everything. So, I said, our all things considered, you know, our March circulation was only down by 368 checkouts compared to March of last year. So I feel like that's pretty good, considering that the number of people visiting the library was down by almost 1,200. So just to kind of give you a rundown summary really of the timeline of how things have played out here. The week leading up to the library being closed, I was out of the office from Wednesday through Friday of that week. So Wednesday I was traveling, but I called the library staff and asked them to start upping the disinfecting and also to put away the ice cream toys. I was kind of like, yeah, we don't need kids trying to eat ice cream right now. On Thursday, then I instructed them to put away all of the toys and begin having conversations with city administrators and other metro area library directors about how they were starting to address the escalating situation. Spent pretty much that whole day working from our hotel out in Denver, getting the coronavirus page set up on our website, getting communication out to people about what we were doing. On Friday, then we canceled all of the programs for spring break week. And then on Sunday, when the governor closed the schools, I called Chelsea right away. We were trying to decide if we were going to open the library on Monday. Ultimately, she said, go ahead and open it and we'll kind of monitor it. And as most of you know, Monday morning, we opened the doors at 10 o'clock and it was like opening a floodgate. We checked out 283 items in the first hour. Chelsea happened to stop in with Jason, the new Parks and Rec director. Looked around, left, and within 30 minutes called and said the mayor had issued an emergency proclamation closing us. Then on Tuesday, so we closed on Monday, Tuesday, we ordered some Chromebooks, refurbished Chromebooks, so that we could continue to provide computer access, public computers to people. As of now, they have not been used. We have had people call who want to take them home with them, and that is not their intended purpose at this time. Then Melissa Ulbrich joined our team in the middle of all of this and we've done 2 online story times. So things are going well there. We're also doing online book club. Even our Sit and Stitch group that usually sits there on Thursday nights around the fireplace, Pam took this computer home the other night, turned it on for Sit and Stitch, and they worked in their own living rooms and got to visit with each other. And we're doing that for Women's Coffee on Wednesday morning as well. So trying to keep that sense of community going from within the library. And even Jerry Fit provided us with links. So our people who are doing Jerry Fit could go online, register for an account. They've got the link and they are doing their exercises and watching the videos at home. So we have been busy with that. Full-time staff is aware that at any time they can choose to work from home if they're not comfortable coming into the library. Right now, they don't have a problem being there. And our part-time staff has been coming in working on inventory and some other projects for us. We've had the carpets cleaned and the meeting room floor redone. That happened the week of spring break. Our new book drop and shelves for the circulation stations have arrived, but they need to be installed yet. The shelves do. And let's see, Melissa is participating in the Kids First virtual conference today and tomorrow. And then we are all on Wednesday doing a webinar on crisis response, staying connected to your community. So today, as most of you probably know, the governor closed all libraries. There were actually still a few that were open and doing business as usual. And I immediately called Chelsea, and we determined that we could still do curbside pickup unless otherwise directed by the state. On March 19th, the Iowa Department of Public Health issued a statement saying it is unlikely that someone could become infected with COVID-19 by handling a library book. Libraries should continue to clean book covers and DVD covers with an EPA registered disinfectant. So we empty the book drop with gloves and we wipe all of the materials down with Clorox wipes. This afternoon, the governor provided guidelines to the State Library of Iowa on the library closures, which I forwarded to all of you in an email, but the governor's office did confirm that we could continue to do curbside pickup. Just so like you would have an idea, as of 2:30 this afternoon, since March 16th, we have circulated 1,600 items out of the library via curbside delivery. Moving on with that, I'm sorry, I have a lot in the director's report this month. This morning, the city issued instructions restricting spending on items over $1,000 without pre-approval, and also issued a moratorium on new contracts and things like that. During my conversation this morning with Chelsea, I discussed some of the things that we've been looking at over the last couple of days. I had talked with her last week that the library wanted to, normally at this time of year, we are reaching out to our local businesses and asking for donations of prizes for our summer reading program. And obviously this is not the time to do that. But instead I told her we wanted to take the funds that we had saved by not offering programming over, while we're doing right now, and use it to buy gift cards to those businesses that we can give as prizes. And wanted to make sure that it was okay to use our funds that way. And she and the mayor are both very supportive of that. The Friends of the Library are actually going to take care of purchasing the gift cards to Fenders and Polk City Liquor, since city funds cannot be used to purchase alcohol and neither of those establishments serve food. Then the second item that I talked to, and so she confirmed today that we could continue with that spending project. And then the second item of spending that I wanted to talk to her about after her letter was one that is actually more expensive. It's a subscription to a program called Beanstack. It's a software that allows patrons to complete reading challenges online, and there's a lot of libraries that use Beanstack, especially for their summer reading programs. We've stayed away from it because it is so expensive. But in Chelsea, when talking with Chelsea, she has instructed us that we will have a summer reading program this year. We just don't know what it'll look like. And so it's probably going to cost us about $2,000. This company requires a minimum 2-year contract, and there's better pricing for a 3. But I think we're going to go with the 2-year contract and kind of do their middle package. The middle package includes an app for it. Otherwise, you have to get on a computer and do it. I feel like if there's not an app, it's pointless. So that is something that we are definitely researching. We actually have a webinar tomorrow to learn more about it, but the company is so overwhelmed right now that we have to commit by April 15th in order to be guaranteed services for summer reading this year. And it would allow,
What's it called again?
Beanstack. And we can set up reading challenges on there. So like in the past years, everybody gets a reading log, or they get a bingo sheet, or they get whatever. This one, we can set it up. It'll allow them to reach milestones. They can earn badges. Adults can do it. And then they can redeem those badges for actual prizes at the library. But it'll give us a way to do something if the doors are not open on June 1st. I did an analysis of our finances, and on line items where we do not anticipate additional expenditures. This year we have a surplus of approximately $11,600. And on the line items where we are over budget by approximately $6,600. So we've got about $5,000 of wiggle room in there that we can use to pay for this. And Chelsea was very supportive of that expenditure as well, because I don't know if anybody is confident that this is going to be done by June 1st. So I think that is pretty much the director's report.
Okay. Any questions, comments on that? Okay, so now we need the liaison report.
Thank you. Don't really have a whole lot to comment on. Jamie hit a lot of information already, and I think the important part is, Jamie, thank you for you and your staff doing what you've been doing for the past few weeks. I think you've been a lifeline support for a lot of people in town, my family included. When we're stuck at home, it's nice to be able to have reading and movie resources at our fingertips, and I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, so keep up the good work. And then other than that, we've all seen these proclamations come out from city, state, and federal agencies, governments. So let's just keep doing our part by staying away from everybody and get through this as fast as we can. That's all I got.
Jeff, are you still, like, you guys are set to keep having online meetings? I mean, you're not at this point suspending any of that or anything?
No, we will continue to run as best as we can as a city government. We will continue to have our meetings the second and fourth Mondays of the month. They will be Zoom meetings like this. They will be open to the public to the extent possible. We're still working out some of the kinks to see if, for whatever reason, we would have more than the allotted number of people. But just like these meetings, they're going to continue to go on. Got to keep government working.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
It doesn't look like Corey's here, so I don't think we're gonna have a board education tonight. So let's move on to the agenda items. So we need to let's talk about a little bit about the circulation policy. So what we reviewed, would you want to add something to it for these people that are struggling now, or what are you thinking, Jamie?
I think at the very minimum, it's a good idea for us, and that kind of goes with number 2, at least giving them access to our digital collection. As long as they live in Polk City or rural Polk County, we can provide them that access. And like I said, since they're not, at that point, they're not accessing our physical collection, we don't really need to, there's no huge risk in not being able to verify their identity or residency. As far as giving them access to physical materials.
So these temporary library cards that you had in here,
Yes.
you would still see them face to face. They just wouldn't have the proof of current
Right.
residency.
Most people who come in who want a library card have a photo ID. It's usually the piece of mail that they're
Okay.
lacking with their current address. And so by putting in that, when we put in that temporary provision, it would allow them to get access to those, but they would allow them access to library, but they'd only be able to check out 3 items at a time. They could not have a hotspot. They could not have the adventure pass, things like that, until they actually brought in that piece of mail. And so that temporary card was, good for 60 days and could be upgraded easily.
So I guess maybe this is me being naive, but what's the importance of having them face to face? Just so you can see the driver's license or whatever ID and verify their name, like basically authenticating them.
So yeah, basically any other time that you would get a library card, it would be face to face, because they're coming in, and then also just to be able to give them a card and have them sign it. They have to sign it in the presence of us, because we no longer have them fill out all of the paperwork. We just do it directly into the computer, and then they sign the library card with it, and that's their signature. So
is it, but if I'm understanding it correctly, there's 2 different things we're looking at, right? Because there's this temporary, and then what are you talking about right now is a little bit different.
So if we wanted to give them, basically what it comes down to is, if we wanted to give them a temporary access, like a temporary card that gave them access to our physical materials, we would have to be willing to waive the photo ID requirement completely, because they're not going to be able to provide that to us on the
So wouldn't they have to physically come I mean, they have to physically come pick up those physical items.
Right.
Could they not present it then?
Well, at that point, I feel like that puts the library staff more at risk because we're going to have to interact with them at the table outside where they're going to have to give us their photo ID so we can verify that it's them, or and then they're going to have to sign their card. And we're right now, nobody approaches that table until we are back in the building.
So when we decided that 60-day for the temporary card, is there any way maybe we increase that, by another 30 days, given the situation that we're in right now?
But they're
You
still
know,
having to
60
come in
days.
face to face, is what
Yeah.
Jimmy was saying for that.
But then at the end of that 90 days, then they'd have to come in to show an ID.
I feel like we're kind of confused on the situation. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie. So,
Yeah.
right, we changed the policy. So basically, if somebody say, comes in, wants a library card, they present, so this is prior to COVID-19,
Right.
provides their driver's license, says, I would like to have a library card, but they don't have the ability to prove their insurance or their address at that time of applying. We can, i.e. Jamie, provide a temporary card good through 60 days until somebody can verify their address with proof of their address. So that's okay. That's been added to the policy. That's sufficient. What she's saying is now there are people in the community that don't have a library card, and because of COVID-19 can't provide that photo ID because she doesn't want to put the library staff in direct contact with somebody having to look at their card. So without having the card, normally we wouldn't give them a temporary library card, which allows for the physical checking out. So what she's asking is if we want to do some type of other temporary or digital only access where they could, check out digital books because there's nothing to return. They just automatically get returned anyway.
So yep, that's part two. And like I said, I said we were not going to move forward on issuing even temporary cards without a photo ID for physical materials without some direction from the board. So, I mean, if we wanted to make
do you want to add, so we either potentially need to add where there's the ability to provide digital only library cards for people if they're not able to provide a photo ID, or we just add to the policy situations, library director has ability to, what do I want to say?
It might be easiest to think of this since on the agenda it's two different items. So number one is approve changes to the circulation policy that we basically wrote last month, or we made those changes. So in number one, do we want to maybe temporarily waive any restrictions so that they can get physical materials, or do we just leave it as is?
How many people are you having calling in wanting an actual card,
I would say probably 5 or 6 a day.
today? But prior to today, did you?
No, every day.
Oh, every day. Okay, so my other question is, would you ever, and I don't know how busy you guys are, I mean, I know you're busy, would you ever do a verification over the computer? Like if they truly want a card, they'd have to like Zoom in or whatever, FaceTime you if somebody has a smartphone, look at the screen, show their ID, and then we'll have to figure out a way to get a signature.
And that would be a possibility, yes.
I mean, I feel like we need to do some sort of checking of,
Something.
yeah, so some Jane Doe doesn't show up and then we don't see some of our library materials,
Right.
That's-
So, and at that point, I would say we would still like keep all of our other restrictions in place, that it wouldn't be part of the adventure pass is pretty much non-existent right now. Nobody's going anywhere, but they still would not have access to the hotspot or Or
Yeah, I guess I would treat them
premature.
similar to your temporary one with those restrictions.
Right. Basically, yeah, so basically I'm saying we just want to put approve the policy as we wrote it, but put in it and just kind of temporarily or we could
Well, and also,
we could get their ID online.
so why don't we, per the policy right now, why are we not allowing those people with temporary cards to use bridges? If we're saying it might be okay for,
I think that the initial was they were just getting very bare minimum
okay.
services.
So for these people that are calling in now, do you want them to have exactly the same as a policy, or do you want them to have some electronic digital?
And we could give them, I think we could temporarily give them some digital access as well.
Okay.
Because Jamie, you have someone tracking these individuals. So like if it goes past that 60 days,
The
you know what I
cards
mean?
would be,
Someone's making note of it, or the cards are expiring, or
the cards would expire in 60 days. Yes, we just put in an expiration date 2 months out.
All right.
So should we, okay, like you said, should we approve the policy and then potentially have a special amendment for,
Like for a pandemic, for like pandemic
Yeah.
situations, or I don't know, emergency.
what you could even say, like, you know, that little blurb on the bottom that says if, proof of current resident is available, if photo ID isn't available, library director has the ability to override requirement case by case temporary basis. I mean, that it could be as easy as that, so it doesn't have to have just if you want to say like, okay, you can either go right under the photo ID, or you could under the if no proof of current resident, when you go to the temporary library card, library director has ultimate ability to supersede policy in extreme cases of whatever, I'm saying, I can't think off the top of my head, but like, so I think if we wanted to, if somebody could come up with that language, we could approve the policy with the condition that that's added.
mm-hmm.
Oh.
What was the,
So just put in,
like, library director has the authority to supersede policy and provide temporary library cards as needed. I mean, I don't know, Angie, Sarah, what are you thinking about
Yeah.
that?
I think I would leave it open end as needed, because I'm just thinking, like, what if you have somebody homebound, or you know what I mean, that wants access, or something like that in the future.
Or like, you could even add like due to situations not under our control or something like, to that effect.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
okay.
And that would kind of encompass many different things if there's like some other type of pandemic or emergency, or, individual situations.
So Angie and Sarah, I mean, in general, would you, I guess I could just ask for a motion, but I do think if we get a motion, it has to be something that, I move to approve the policy with the, requirement that Jamie adds language as referenced in the meeting, regarding the ability to supersede it. I think that needs to be part of the motion that's made.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be the verbatim language. It has to be
Yeah.
language basically that directing Jamie to do it more than anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll try it.
I was like, did you type that down?
Some of it. A motion, or I propose a motion to approve the changes to the circulation policy with adding the verbiage or similar verbiage to which we've discussed in our meeting, to allow Jamie or the library director to make changes as needed due to unforeseen circumstances.
Perfect. Now type it up. Can I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
So Angie made a motion, Sarah seconded it. All those in favor, I'm gonna go Sarah first since Angie's typing.
Aye.
Angie,
Aye.
Lisa, aye. Motion passes unanimously. Everybody said aye. Moving on.
Okay, so I'm just going to interject here real quick. According to this thing, we have about
So that really takes,
2.5 minutes left before we have to go into our next window.
okay. I think we're gonna have to do it. So because of the, so should everybody take a
Out of this-
pause, log out and log back in?
Log back in on the
Okay,
second link.
So do we need a note on the minutes at 7:02 took a moment to switch, or does it matter? I'd note it, just note it in case.
I'll note it if we need to, then we
It
got
doesn't
it.
mean, okay, all
Okay.
right.
See you guys in a minute.
All right.